I'm in the middle of a meditation training session when the topic of setbacks comes up and problems. Now, in meditation, especially in the beginning, we're taught to focus on our breath, point our attention towards our breath. And when you get distracted, you just bring your attention back to your breath. Now, this can be frustrating, especially for beginner meditators, because it doesn't take more than 2 breaths before we're constantly lost in thought. And that's really frustrating. It's even more frustrating when the meditator is dealing with some kind of problem or setback or troubles at the moment. So the instructor says, well, that's no big deal, because the breath is simply an anchor. It's one thing that you can focus your attention on. You can also focus your attention on anything: sounds, sights, bodily sensations, or the nature of your problems. So just pay attention to those problems, he says. And through the process, we learn that by paying close enough attention to what it actually feels like in your body to have these problems, what does it actually feel like to plan for the future? What does it actually feel like to catastrophically think? Go to that worst case scenario thinking. What does that actually feel like? And when you do that, it helps you break from the rumination that tends to happen. It helps you be more in the moment. And as we're doing this, I'm reminded of my teenage years when I was a horribly deviant kid. Awful. I was always in trouble in general, but I was particularly in trouble with my mom a lot. Bless her heart for putting up with me. I remember on more than many occasions, anytime that I was telling her how unfair this is, it's not fair that you're punishing me for some awful thing that I did. This isn't fair, you're out to get me, the world's out to get me. She would calmly reply that, well, get used to it because life's a struggle. Except she didn't say struggle. Now, it would take me years to fully realize the profound nature of what she was saying. When I was a teenager hearing that, it's very easy to think, okay, well, the world's out to get me, and oh boy, look at me, I'm a victim, boo-hoo. But life's a struggle doesn't mean it's just a struggle for me. Life's a struggle means it's a struggle for everyone. It's part of the human condition, in fact. And this realization changed kind of how I think about life in general, but money particularly. Find out more right after this. Hey, it's Derek Hagan. I'm a financial behavior specialist and financial therapist here with another Money Health presentation where we're going to talk about life being a struggle. And first thing I want to show is this is the probability of problems happening, and you see that no matter what, whether we hope that problems don't happen, we wish for this perfect life free from struggles, we dwell and ruminate on problems, we expect them. We know there's going to be problems. We learn from them. It doesn't matter what we do. The probability is the same. They are guaranteed. Problems are happening. So death, taxes, and problems. Those are the things that we know will happen. Life is a series of setbacks, a series of challenges, a series of problems. So it doesn't make any sense to be upset or confused by the presence of the next one. Now, of course, we don't know which problem it's going to be, but we know that there will be problems. And when you think about this, what does it mean to expect challenges versus expecting a perfect world? But if you're down on this end, if you don't walk very far, you see, if I don't expect anything, I want this to be a perfect commute, for example, then when I get cut off, I'm going to be pissed off. I'm wondering, why does this keep happening to me? It's easy to play this role of the victim and, oh, woe is me, everything sucks. But if you can walk out a little bit to expecting challenges, then you can say, well, I was prepared for that. I knew that would happen. I didn't know that specifically was going to happen, but I knew something would happen. So when you go out driving, you say, well, I know there's going to be some people speeding past me. There's going to be some people driving too slow, and I'm probably going to get cut off. That changes the dynamic of what happens, because then when you get cut off, it changes from, look at this jerk, to, there he is, I knew it. Total dynamic change. So expecting problems alters your experience. Now, changing your mindset is something that is very helpful. In much that same way you can prepare for driving, you get to, by expecting problems, you're accepting them. You're accepting the fact that this is what it is. That's actually what this little person up here says. It is what it is. And by accepting problems, you get to understand that life is going to be a series of interesting problems to solve. These aren't setbacks getting in your way. This isn't something that's just, this, if you're over here not accepting, this guy hanging on here saying this sucks, this person views setbacks as something that's just in my way. I need to hurry up and get rid of these things so I can continue going. Well, that's a boring life. That's a life full of sadness and depression and anxiety. But if you accept those problems get reframed as interesting problems to solve. In fact, some people view a higher power. They'll think that some higher power is challenging you. And this is a very clever reframe. So this God or gods or universe or higher power will knows you. They know that you can handle this. They, meaning whatever it is, they know that you can handle this. So you're not getting problems that you can't solve. So that reframe simply says, okay, this person says, oh, dang it, another stupid thing to solve. And this person says, well played, universe. I wonder how I can solve this problem. And it changes the quality of your life. Right? And much of this is related to whether you like the journey or whether you like the destination. Are you goal focused or are you system focused? Because if you're not happy with the journey, if the journey that has challenges baked in, if the journey, which is part of the human condition, part of what it means to be alive, has challenges baked in, and you struggle to get past all that stuff, and bam, you finally hit that goal, you finally get to that destination, that's going to be short-lived. We call that the hedonic treadmill, hedonic adaptation. You quickly get used to it. And once you're used to it, that happiness is fleeting, and now you're stuck. You're back to your base happiness again. Now you need to find a new destination to go to. You have to go through that crappy journey that you don't like to get there again so you can get another fleeting sense of happiness. But if instead of being goal-focused, you're system-focused, well, now you set up your system so you're happy with whatever happens. And you know that there's going to be challenges baked in. So now at the end of the day, you get to choose which problems you want to solve. This takes a lot of practice, but this is some element that you have. And to think about this, I want you to think back to your proudest story. And when you think about your proudest story, that one that go-to story, that one you tell when you want to impress somebody, or that one you tell that other people have you tell, you'll probably find that there's some element of struggle. There's something that you had to overcome in order to succeed, in order to rise above. And that comes with satisfaction. Do you know how I know that? Because that's the story you tell. Right? Or think about your best day at work. Your best day at work was probably not that day that you were, everything was checked off your to-do list and everything was under budget and on time. There was no stress all day long. That probably wasn't your best day at work. In fact, your best day at work was probably when there was 1,000 fires to put out and you actually did it. And you did it before 6 o'clock. Right? Struggle and satisfaction are paired. They're linked. And once you know that, looking back, you can ask yourself what you're willing to put up with going forward. And finally, here I was kind of talking about problems in general. And those are stressful enough when you have struggles and problems. And we know that money is also stressful and hard to deal with. Now, when you've got struggles and problems around money, that's kind of the double whammy. And that's where we can really utilize some of this reframing. Right? So instead of being angry or upset or surprised every time there's an unexpected expense, or every time we spent too much, more than we thought we were going to on that vacation, or every time that we go out, we end up splurging a little bit too much, or we hunger shopped and we bought too much food, or whatever. The system that we use to track our expenses stops working. We can expect money problems In the moment, that helps us deal with it. Yep, okay, I knew there was going to be problems. Now I've got this interesting problem to solve. It also helps us plan for the future. Like, what might happen? What will I do in the future when there's an unexpected expense? Okay, maybe that's the case for building that emergency fund. What will I do when I overspend? Okay, maybe that's the case for having some kind of a spending plan or a budget or a more mindful spending plan. And this can even be big picture. What will I do if I get fired or somebody gets promoted over me or I get a new boss or the company gets sold? What will I do if I don't get enough hours at work? You can start to ask yourself these questions and by expecting problems, again, you don't know exactly which problems are going to happen, but by expecting problems, it lessens the sting. And so remember that some problem happening to you is probably not in your control. What happens to you, when it happens to you, that's outside of your control. What is in your control is how you choose to solve that problem. It's how you choose to expect problems. And when you do that, it's going to be a much more satisfying and calm and fulfilling and happy life. You only have one life. Live intentionally.